Good morning, the instructor. I am to make presentation on the need to have click agreement for contract terms enforceable in response to the given assignment. Before I move on, we need to understand what is all about click agreement. A click agreement is a type of contract that is contract agreement that is widely used with software licenses and online transactions in which a user must agree to terms and conditions prior to using the product or service by mere clicking on agree button given on the site. I agree. We have all clicked on a button with these words on it while online at some point or other, whether it's creating a new social media account or simply trying to access our bank statements. Nearly no one can visit a website these days without being prompted to agree to a set of terms and conditions, which is very rampant. And some people do not know that they are entering into legal binding in that way. However, by clicking on short boxes or even merely using the website, in some situations, we as online users may be entering into legally enforceable contracts with the online service provider. We need to know different ways by which users enter into agreements. A user can demonstrate agreement in a variety of ways, either by words or by deeds, depending on the circumstances given on the site. In an online form, however, the line between these two categories can blur. That is, we might not be able to make difference in between the two. Some service providers seek agreement by requiring you to click the aforementioned I agree button after being shown the agreement, the terms of agreement, whereas other service providers alternatively try to characterize your simple use of their website as your agreement to a set of terms and conditions buried somewhere on the site, which might be unknown to the user. So in this presentation, the two ways by which one can enter into agreement is the click wrap agreement and the browse wrap agreement. Click wrap agreement has been endorsed by court, while the browse wrap is not endorsed because it's a lot of it doesn't uh, it doesn't reveal the terms and conditions that a user can agree to vividly. So that is why it is not being accepted by the courts. There are many variations on these themes, such as mandatory checkbox or email notices, different ways by which you can be asked to enter into agreement. Yet, not all of these techniques are good enough to create legally binding contracts. As a rule of thumb, courts have been more willing to recognize click wraps as contracts while expressing skepticism about browse wraps. Given the emphasis placed on users' assent, courts favor finding a binding agreement where the user engages in affirmative conduct acknowledging the terms of service. For instance, a genuine click wrap agreement in which a service provider places terms of service just adjacent to or below a click button has been held to be sufficient to indicate the user agreed to the listed terms. In these cases, requiring the user to click I agree after calling attention to the terms and affording the user an opportunity to review them demonstrates the user agreed to the terms. However, not merely the clicking creates the legal binding. The issue turns on reasonable notice and opportunity to review whether the placement of the terms and click button afforded the user a reasonable opportunity to find and read the terms without much effort. In practice, the enforceability of each terms of service implementation often falls on a sliding scale depending on the degree of notice it provides the user. At one end, presentation that requires the user before clicking to scroll to the bottom of a set of terms or through an adjacent scroll box guarantees the entirety of the terms of service appears at least once, even if the user chooses to ignore it and has been held to be enforceable. At the other hand, by contrast, if a user must click on a hyperlink or series of hyperlinks to fill the term, the significance of clicking "I agree" as showing assent diminishes, depending on the difficulty and in actually finding the terms and whether a reasonable internet user would have done so. Finally, in addition to the placement of terms, courts also consider the inclusion of conspicuous statements on websites that instruct users to read the terms of service and inform them of the consequence of clicking "I agree." In summary, clearly presented click-wrap agreement represent the best practice mechanism for creating contractual relationship between an online service and a user. Such a mechanism should conspicuously present the terms of service to the user prior to any payment or installation of software, and then allow the user to easily read and navigate all of the terms. Then provide an opportunity to print and save a copy of the terms, and also it should offer the user the option to decline as prominently and by the same method as the option to agree. One must be able to agree and also disagree at the same time. Ensure the terms of service is easy to locate online after the user agrees. Thank you for listening.